Hey guys, it's Mr. Calderon with Queen My Pawn. Today's video is going to be about how I defeated a 2100 over the board as black. Yeah, that actually happened. I actually am just coming back from the game and there's a notation and you can see how short it is actually. I'm surprised and I know exactly what contributed to it. So let me get into it right away. Pre-match. Staying in shape is vital, and I knew it was going to be necessary in order to defeat this 2100. My opponent's name was, well, I don't think I'll disclose that for now, as it's not as important, but let's just say he's a strong opponent, and I've had to face him before a couple of times, and I've lost both times. But today, I just had the attitude that I was going to play my best move every move. I wasn't focused on winning. I wasn't focused on not losing. I was focused on what is the best move in this position right now. And by staying present, I was able to be calm during the game. Exercise helps with that because when you're running at high intensity, you have nothing to think about except running, because it's such a high intensity that you're just struggling to breathe. But then at the end of the exercise you feel good and you are proud of yourself for conquering another challenge. So if you can conquer a high intensity exercise, you're able to conquer the difficulties emotionally of a game against someone that's stronger than you, and you won't have that worry in your mind. So that's prophylaxis against thinking negatively against yourself. So that's pre-match preparation. Match preparation. So I saw that I was gonna have black the week before the match because I'm playing quads, which means I play a game every week, and so I knew that already. So I knew I didn't have to prepare as white, and I knew he was gonna play e4 as white. So as black, I had nothing to worry about. I knew he wasn't into the Ruy Lopez. I knew he wasn't into any strong opening. I knew that he was just okay in the opening. As black, though, he plays a Sicilian, but I didn't have to worry about that. So let's get to the game then, shall we? Because that's all I had to worry about. So on my chess face, I will annotate the game as we go along. So I'm gonna flip the board because I was black. Okay, and he plays e4. I play e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So he plays the Italian game, which is a quiet opening. Bishop c5. And we're cranking these moves like every 5 seconds. Every 5 to 10 seconds, it's natural. So the game is 60 minutes long with 5-second increment. That means each side gets 60 minutes and 5 seconds extra per move, so the game should be about 2 hours long. So he plays knight c3. Okay, so he's taking this into the quiet route. He just wants to get out of the opening, basically. And I play knight f6. Alright, so far it's symmetrical, I thought. Not giving me any problems. Unlike the Ruy Lopez, where I had to actually think. d3, d6. So far, it's very symmetrical. Now he plays h3. Of course, this move is okay because it's a closed position. The center is immobile for the moment being. And typically black could play h6 here. Now, according to my move that I played here bishop to e6 with the idea of d5. And that way I can control the d5 square. I know that I have to spend another tempo playing d5, but I need to fight for the center. I mentioned this every video. Fight for the center. Do not forget the center. And I was thinking the whole time about e5. How will e5 be weakened? If he captures on e5, can I place a rook on e8 and have an attack? Turns out I could. But let me talk about this position after h3. Before h3. Bishop g5 tends to be the move, but I wasn't too worried about that because of h6 and g5. And I have some space on the king side, and I'll just castle queen side. Knight d5 is another move. h3 though is the 5th most popular move at 61 games out of I can't tell the total right now, but it looks like it's about 500 games in total. So let's see, h3, I played bishop e6, which is the 2nd most popular move after h6. But they're both hand in hand. Now he plays bishop b3, of course, this is the regular move. And now, people could get away with queen at d7, right? Or something like still h6. Or even bishop takes b3, but I didn't want to open up his his a file, that would be bad. Right? But here, I played d5. Yes, I actually played d5 here. I thought about this though. I thought about it for 5 minutes. Do I play d5 here? And yes, I play d5 here because I have to fight for the center. Okay? I don't know if this is like correct in the engine or not. Okay? I don't really care. I know that he's not fighting for the center. What if I start to fight for the center? How is he going to react? This is a 2100 we're talking about. And every time I play him, he's big on tactics. Like if you make a tactical mistake, he's going to eat you alive. But right now, I'm just fighting him positionally. I'm trying to get the better position. Let's see how he deals with that. Okay? So, he plays bishop to g5. Of course, now d5 is no longer under my control, and I didn't find any way to actually have a good center here. So, I surrender the center with d takes e4. Although I wouldn't call it surrendering the center, right? Because if pawn takes, then queen takes, and in a sense I've unpinned myself. So he does take with the knight here. And okay, he's putting some pressure on this pin. Now you know from my video on pins that I don't like being pinned. So something like queen to e7 does not come to mind, y'all. Although I did consider it, actually, so I should say I'm not playing this move because it's going to get me in positional complications, okay? The best move here has to be bishop to e7. Has to be. And that's what I played in the game, of course. So far, I would say that it's a pretty even opening. Now he decides to go and take on e6. Now, I see a green square there, okay? That means that it's the best move that white can do. But to me, like I say, I'm thinking, okay, he's giving me double pawns, but they're central double pawns, which means I'm controlling 4 different squares. If I were to capture that bishop, I would be controlling these 4 squares. I would have an open file for my rook, and I would have another open file for my rook. So let me put that again. 2 open files. Good development. Not bad. On the pro side for him, he does have a knight on e4, which isn't going to be kicked out anytime soon. So it's a game. It's a pretty interesting game that we have here. And after that, I considered knight takes e4. But no, I just simply went with bishop. Pawn takes bishop. Knight takes e4. He has bishop takes f7, king takes f7, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, and then pawn takes e4, for example. And in that position, I'm down a pawn. I do have 2 open files though, but my king is unsafe in something like c3 and queen b3 and queen takes b7, for example. I didn't like the look of that, so I'm not going to give him that much play, okay? I didn't even calculate c3 and queen b3 in the game. I just knew that position was not okay for black because you're giving him too much. So after f takes e6, he did bishop takes f6, which I don't think was a good move. He was probably expecting me to take back with the bishop here, keeping a knight over here on e4 forever, right? Because that knight's not gonna go anywhere. And yeah, but yeah, this is not a good move. But then again, I am challenging him. I think that maybe knight f d2 could have been better. But then I have something like maybe queen to d5, if knight c3, queen takes g2. So I'm basically challenging him the entire time. I'm challenging him in the center. I've got the initiative the entire time. And this move actually is when I knew that he had to make a choice after bishop takes f6, right? Before bishop takes f6, I mean, sorry. In this position right here, I'm threatening to take the knight. This is a threat. And I'm big on checks captures threats. And threats, the lowest level, if you can start that off in the opening, he's going to be in trouble, right? So he has to take the knight. And now, of course, I just talked about why I shouldn't take with the bishop. That's not good. The bishop will be blocked by the pawn, which cannot move because of the knight on e4. So, of course, I take on f6. Now you might be saying to yourself, oh my gosh, the queen can come in and check you, man. And oh my god, the knight can come here. Well, I had already seen that during the game. And it's not a threat. Because of time constraints, I'm not going to go into why. But it's actually defendable, and you should try to calculate that for yourself. I'm going to get into the point of why I beat a 2100 and how I beat a 2100. By positionally confronting him and saying, hey man, I'm not going to back down. I'm going to keep asking you these questions and see how you respond. And right now, you're not responding so well. The problem with bishop takes e6, I said that that was white's best move because I saw the green square there. The thing is that, first of all, it does offer the king some cover, which you'll see in a moment. Second of all, it does give me central control. And it supports the f5 pawn in that sense. We will see now what I mean. So I'm threatening to push my pawn to f5, right? So he plays g4, which I consider dubious. So let me go ahead and put dubious right there. Look, he's weakening his king side. And second of all, at the moment he played g4, or maybe a few seconds later, I saw this. If I could get something to attack him on this diagonal, I'm going to put it in yellow actually. If I could get something over here to attack that diagonal and attack that rook, he's going to be in trouble because there's nothing protecting that diagonal anymore. He probably wanted to prevent my f5, but this isn't the way to go. I don't know, I mean, maybe I thought... I honestly don't know. Let's go back in this position. I mean, that's the thing, like, I'm confronting him positionally, right? This looks dangerous for black, but there's no other way to keep the initiative. Otherwise, it's just going to be an easy game for him. And I knew my opponent was strong in the endgame. If I got to a simplified position, he was going to win. And I needed to keep the queen. I needed to keep everything on the board unless I had an absolutely equal position. In which case, I felt like I had good chances. But in the double pawns position, he's going to be winning because he knows how to do that endgame. So he plays g4. Now, this is going to be bad for him. So try to find the best move now for black. Pause the video and try to find it out for yourself. You can unpause the video now. This pawn on g4 is a strong point. Normally you attack the base of the pawn, but the base is unattackable. So of course, you have to attack the head of the pawn. f5 wouldn't do. If pawn takes, or he doesn't even have to take the pawn. After f5, he can go knight g3. And the center, there's some tension over here that's unresolved, and I can't push a pawn because I'll leave a hole here. So it kind of seems like this center is contained, and I don't like that. Instead, I learned this from a Steinitz game, or a Lasker game, or a Taraj game. But basically, get rid of your h-pawns ASAP. It was Steinitz. h5. This does so many things. Let me put an exclamation mark here. My opponent after game said that he underestimated h5. Well, here's the thing. h5 opens up the file for the rook in case of h takes g4. It gets rid of the weakness on the black side for the h file. I no longer have to worry about a weak isolated h-pawn. And because of the rook's increased control of h5, I don't have to worry about queen h5 anymore. You should calculate that the best moves here are probably rook to g1, which I expected, or queen to e2. Well, I didn't expect queen to e2. No, not in this position. Just rook to g1, right? Yeah, this is what I expected during the game. This is not what my opponent played. He played something else, which was quite odd. G takes h5. My opponent probably expected this, right? No. This is actually a pawn sacrifice. So I just realized I played a pawn sacrifice. This is called a distraction. I distracted the pawn from control of f5. That's another benefit. I'm challenging the head of the pawn, the strong point. So let me go ahead and play f5 now. I'm challenging him again positionally. This knight does not belong here, and now he can't play any of these moves. He has to go backwards. Knight g3 looks good. He played... Oh yeah, I don't know why he played this. He played knight to d2. I expect a knight c3 in this position to prevent my queen from going to d5, but this is not a good move. Because look, whoop. That's exactly what I played in like 10 seconds. This is a queen that's in the middle, unopposed. The only way is c4, which I saw, but then queen takes d3. And c4 weakens the queen side, so where's this king going to be safe at? My queen side looks pretty safe to me. So I'm challenging him positionally. This is how you challenge and defeat stronger players. You challenge them positionally. Don't worry about the tactics. Don't worry about the end game even. Okay, just know that in the middle game, you gotta punish them for their moves if they give you the center. Which he did. Look, I have the center entirely mine. I've got all these squares. Oh my goodness, look at this, dude. I'm taking up the entire center. I'm taking 3/4 of the center now. 9/16, but whatever. Oh, he didn't play that. No. Let me take that back real quick. Hold on. There. So. Oh, and yeah. Remember what I was talking about earlier? This is a threat. The rook is now under attack. The knight cannot move. So this is a pin, and I talk about pins in my previous video. So he now plays queen to e2, which is I don't know if I call this a mistake or a blunder, but he says that he completely missed this move in the game. So I play obviously knight to d4 because the knight's pinned, and the queen can't go here because it gets forked. It can't take here because I just take the queen and then knight to c2, winning a pawn back and the exchange. I'm basically up the exchange. He had no other solution except to move back to d1. But I expected something like a fight, but you know, this is basically resignation. Actually, sorry, he didn't play that yet because that would be too easy, right? He played c4 first, challenging me. Pretty good. I thought for a moment that he actually got me into a trap. And I thought, oh man, I knew there had to be something that he could do in this position. But maybe it's good that I didn't see that. What's the best move for black now? Pause the video and try to find it yourself. Alright, so if you chose to maintain the pin, that is correct. And it's the only move, as we can see from the squares. This pawn cannot be captured. This pawn is completely safe. Knight takes, for obvious reasons, cannot be done. If queen takes, you had to find the move castles queenside. And now the threat of knight takes c2, knight to c2, sorry, and knight takes f3 is renewed. I'll show that in a moment. He played queen to d1, so that's an admission of defeat, right? I expected a fight. You know, I expected this. Now, let me put a variation there. And yeah, and that's it, right? I'm threatening this, and I'm threatening this, and you know, I expected this move at least, right? Is that the best move? It's playable. I mean, there's nothing else he can do. He's pretty much losing. Queen, maybe knight there, right? Oh no, this is totally losing. what am I saying? So that's that was the game, and queen to d1, and now naturally I know everyone would love to castle in this position. Oh my god, my king is gonna get safe, yay! But maybe you have a stronger move, and I'm so glad I played this move. This is making me more confident. And I must say that studying this anti-Sicilian book, right, the Sicilian Bishop e5, which I also make videos about in my YouTube channel, Queen My Pawn, helps, because though it talks about so much tactics and how to attack and everything. And thanks for me studying that book, I've studied I think 1 or 2 games before I left for today's game beforehand. I felt confident enough to make the following pin, and he resigns after 8 minutes of deliberation because he couldn't do anything. So that's that.